So with the cool down, very much like assuming you've taken the warm-up tutorial already, we're interested in the how of the cool down, and we're interested in the why of the cool down, and we're going to address those same kind of structures this time as well. Okay, so first of all, the how. We're talking about with a cool down in an active sense, and of course the cool down is by definition active. We're talking about a gradual decrease of pulse rate, so a gradually decreasing pulse rate. So what that means, I mean, look at this arrow coming down. We're talking there about maintaining activity, so we maintain activity, but in such a style that we get this gradual decrease. So it's very likely, for example, that we might be arguing that we go from something like jogging and then we lower that down into something like walking, and then in a moment we're going to sort of bring that down into something like stretching. Okay, so you see this gradual reduction not only of things like pulse rate but of the activity rate. Now the stretching again is an interesting one. Generally speaking, people are going to do static stretches in the cool down. There are exceptions to that, but that's a general kind of point, static stretches. And generally speaking, people tend to hold the stretches for longer holds on those stretches. And my other point about these, and I'm not totally sure this is going to be on mark schemes for you, but I think it's important you hear it anyway, and that is that some people use the cool down period as their flexibility training period. Okay, so it's not just that we stretch to recover. Many athletes will use the cool down period as the time where they actually do their flexibility work. And the reason that is because their muscles at its warmest. It's the ideal moment to do that. Excuse me. So that is something that is relatively common. Okay, so I'm telling you it for that reason. But again, let us now start to address the why. Why is this? Why cool down? What are the reasons for it? The why of cooling down. And again, I'm interested in the psychology of cooling down. And I'm interested in the physiology, the biology of cooling down. Okay, so let's address both these points. Let's address the psychological side because it tends to be a little bit shorter. Let's do that one first. So on the psychological side, first point is that we get to gradually calm down. Now this could be in an extreme case, like, I don't know, someone feels like throttling a referee or something and they get to calm down in that sense. But it might just be calm down in the sense that you go from your competitive mold on that field or in that competitive environment and you bring your levels down, ready to go back into kind of like civilian life, you're back into normal family life, right, of being a nice person. I'm sure you did a nice person on the sports field too, right? But it's important that we have it for that perspective. We can switch back to our other role gradually. And the other point is, on the psychological side, is that we can reflect on performance. So it is a time to kind of reflect on that self-realization process of what went well in the performance and what didn't, and then perhaps put anything into place that needs to be put in place for future performances. Now then, let me choose. I'm going to choose this pinky colour. On the physiological side, what we're talking about here is we go through a process of capillary flushing. Capillary flushing. Okay, and this capillary flushing is important because by maintaining movement in the cool down, an active cool down, we're passing oxygenated blood through the muscles that have been working, and that helps to remove toxins and especially things like lactic acid. And it's that exact point which is my next point, the removal of lactic acid. Now, we're not going to get into glyconeogenesis as a process here, but just know that there's a real physiology to biology to this. It's a fascinating process, actually. We think like removal of lactic acid, like we're getting rid of this stuff. Actually, we use it, or at least we use the lactate element of it, because it's very energy rich. So just bear in mind that removal is not just getting rid of, it's reabsorbing, often restoring. There's all kinds of processes. We're not going to get into it, but just have a broad awareness of it. Now, we also want to say that moving prevents blood pooling. Okay, so think that when we're exercising, I don't know, in the 80th minute of our rugby match or the 60th minute of our netball match or whatever, blood is being fired in large quantities to the legs, to the working muscles, whatever it happens to be. If we suddenly stop, that blood's still going to get fired there and it doesn't have a way of coming back out. So we prevent blood pooling by maintaining movement. And finally, we gradually, and that word's really important here, we gradually do certain processes. So what is it that's gradually done? Well, we gradually decrease temperature, okay, rather than there being sort of a sudden dip. We gradually reduce heart rate. we gradually, you're getting the theme, right? We gradually reduce breathing frequency. Just in case you're interested, breathing frequency as a symbol is just a lowercase, I'll put it in a bracket for you, it's just a lowercase f if you ever want to use it, frequency. And we reduce the tendency for DOMS. And if you haven't recalled what DOMS is, it's the delayed onset, whoops, that's an S, of muscle soreness. And it's that kind of pain you can get a day to 2 days after performance because you've got kind of like microscopic muscle damage. Well, a cool down can help prevent that, especially because we're flushing out our toxins from our muscles.